Builties, how's it going? We wanted to cut in, do a little housekeeping before we start this next interview. Want to remind everybody we're more than just podcast hosts. We're active brokers. We have a bunch of off-market deals, and we would love nothing more than to do deals with our listeners. So please reach out. We have relationships with developers, investors, and all the leaders shaping the built environment here in South Florida. The podcast is growing, guys. We really appreciate your support. We got thousands of listeners now, growing at double-digit % every month. And we're still offering advertising opportunities. So if anyone wants to advertise with us, please reach out to me or Felipe. Happy to walk you guys through what that looks like. And we're doing a coffee club.
Yeah, Ben, we are doing a coffee club. It's more than a coffee club. It's the Built World Cafecito Club. We're going to get together in person with hopefully all our listeners and some of our podcast guests. We're going to start our first one on May 9th. We're planning to do this every second Friday at 9 a.m. at Maman in Wynwood. So stop on by. We start at 9-ish. That's Miami time. So be sort of on time, I guess.
Yeah, that works. Don't be too early. Don't be weird.
Yeah. But don't be too late, too.
Exactly.
We got to get to work.
You guys know what it is.
So no sales pitches, no panels, just real talk. And we hope to meet some of our listeners and connect the dots with a bunch of people here in South Florida.
Yeah, let's do it, guys. Let's do some deals together. Let's build what's next together. We also got to mention the Built World is hitting the road. We're heading to the ULI Florida Summit on June 9th and 10th. It's going to be at the Hyatt Regency in Coconut Point in Bonita Springs. This is one of the great events for real estate development in the state, where they're going to have over 600 industry leaders there. We'll be there in the mix, doing some breakout sessions, recording some podcasts, kissing babies, shaking hands, talking real estate. So if you guys are going to attend, reach out, let us know. We'd love to connect while we're there. And if you're curious, you can find more info and register for the event at florida.uli.org. So we'll be dropping some content from the summit, for stay tuned. See you guys in Bonita Springs.
Love it.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Before we get into this next guest, we wanted to give a huge thank you to all of our guests, listeners, and advertisers for all of your support. Please spread the Built World love by leaving us a review, follow us on Instagram and LinkedIn, and subscribe to the show. We drop a new episode every Tuesday and plan to keep them coming. This next episode is brought to you by Bureau, our title sponsor. With 8 vibrant locations in Miami's best neighborhoods, Bureau is the perfect co-working place to work, network, and thrive alongside other entrepreneurs and creatives. Find your space at bureaumiami.com. Let's go.
It's all good? All right. Cool. Well, Emi Guerra, thank you for joining us. Cheers.
Thanks for being here. Cheers. Let's do this.
This is our second cheers because Felipe fucked up the cameras.
Blame it on me. My fault. Well, welcome, Emi. We're super stoked to have you here. Welcome to Bureau Central. We want to thank you for sipping some tequila with us, which Lisette Calderon brought with us, Casa Dragones. You're just getting over a little walking pneumonia, is that right?
It turns out when your kids get a little cough, as a parent, you end up getting pneumonia.
Yeah.
That's how it goes.
So like a boss, he's from pneumonia to tequila, and you got a high rocks race on Saturday, right?
I do.
And so give us a little insight onto what this race is. It started in Europe, I believe, right?
It did. It started in Germany. It's called High Rocks. It's a functional fitness race. There's 8 exercises, and you run a kilometer before each exercises. You end up running 8 kilometers and doing 8 exercises. It's timed. There's 8,000 people competing on Saturday.
Is this one on the beach?
It is. This one is on inside the convention center.
Oh, okay.
Cool. And then next year we're planning one with them on the beach.
Oh, cool.
But it's awesome. Now I use it as an opportunity to go on vacation, and I travel all over the U.S. and the world. I compete in these things. My wife comes with me. It's like our own little vacation.
Oh, nice.
And now we do like these little healthcations. But anyways, the race is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
You run a kilometer, then and for anybody who's like, what's a kilometer lengthwise? It's about 0.62 miles, like 2/3 of a mile. So you run a kilometer and you do 1,000 meters on a ski erg. You run another kilometer, do a sled push with 350 pounds on it, about 50 meters, like half a football field. You run another kilometer, do a sled pull with just under 300 pounds on it for 50 meters. You run another kilometer, and this is the one that hurts. A burpee broad jump. So you got to do a burpee and jump forward 80 meters.
Oh, shit.
So you do like, I don't know, like 60 to 80.
You're hurting after that one.
After that, you're gassed.
You're right.
Your heart rate goes to the move. You run another kilometer. Then you got to do a rower, 1,000 meters. Run another kilometer. farmers carry with 52 pounds in each hand, 200 meters, so like a football field at bat.
Yeah.
Then you run another kilometer, and then this one kills you again. It's walking lunges with a 65-pound sandbag on your back.
Oh, wow.
And you can't put the sandbag down because you then get disqualified. Then you run another kilometer, and the last one is wall balls. You got to hit a 10-foot target. Your ass has to hit 90 degrees, and you're slugging a 14-pound ball. You got to do 100 of those.
Oh, wow.
And then you're done.
Yeah, you're done.
And you're done. But the first time I did it, no, you're toast.
You're done. How long does it take you to do that?
The first time I did it, it took me 2.5 hours. Now,
Holy shit.
my personal record, which was the last one I did in Las Vegas, was 1 hour and 37 minutes. So I shaved an hour,
Wow.
an hour off my time as I got into shape.
Over what time frame? What was the first one to Vegas?
2 hours and 42.
You know how many years did it take to? When did you
year and a
start
half,
this?
2 years, almost 2 years. I started taking it serious as a sport, like because everyone wants to work out and look good, but then you kind of like get bored. You have nothing like
Yeah.
to measure yourself
100%.
against except maybe body fat and weight. And you're
Right.
like, fuck, am I even getting it?
Yeah.
So in this case, it allows you to work for something, and then there's different divisions. There's open divisions. You can do teams. My goal is after this race is to go pro, which is the same exercises, but it's just heavier weight.
Did you get paid being pro?
No.
Oh.
Well, no. Well, I guess it's kind of like golf and some of these other ones where, like, if you rank in the top whatever, I'm sure you make some money off sponsors and whatnot. But no.
You're just doing this for the pain and the love of exercising.
Yeah, just to pain a competition
Yeah.
and competing with yourself.
Throw some of those
But-
breakwater flags on your shirt.
Actually, half of our team, our corporate office team, are into it, and they're doing it too.
Oh, it does.
And then we have a great guy that works with us, Frankie Ruiz, and Frankie.
Oh yeah, he's like the running guru of Miami. Like,
Yeah,
he's-
so Frankie works with us, and
Oh,
we
cool.
we help bring them to Miami, and Frankie's like coaching the entire office on running and
That's
all
so
that
cool.
stuff. But it's High Rocks is great, and the pros though, they do this thing in 53 minutes.
Dang,
56.
holy
The
shit.
world record holders in 53 minutes. They do 90 events a year round, all over the world. There's like it's a German company originally. There's probably 30 races or 20 something races in Europe. There's a dozen races in Asia.
Oh, wow.
All over
Yeah.
the US.
So you could be doing this every week almost if you wanted to.
Well, yeah, there's an off season. Basically, there's one in New York, like around Memorial Day weekend, and then it's like there's like 2 or 3 months hiatus where it's like an off season, and then I think in September it starts off again. But there's races going on, multiple races a weekend sometimes between the Europe and the States and Asia. It's pretty cool. There's a lower barrier to entry. Let's say CrossFit, where like, dude, it's hard to do pull-ups for some
Right.
people,
Right.
right? Or doing.
I don't know.
exercises.
I don't know. The burpee broad jumps plus the wall balls sounds pretty brutal to me.
No, it
that
does.
sounds like a low bar.
No, that no, it does. It does. Those are kind of tough.
And how do you train for this? You just doing the same exercise?
suffer.
Yeah.
You
Suffer.
Is there a High Rocks gym you go to here? locally?
I'm actually fortunate enough to have built my home not too long ago, and I built myself my own gym in my house
Oh,
that
cool.
is set up for this.
Nice.
So I'm taking it serious. My wife thinks I'm taking it more serious than I should. But yeah, I take it serious, and I built my own gym for it, and it's
So you work out at home.
yeah, I do. I
Yeah.
used to love going to the gym, but you get so busy sometimes, especially like now. We have kids now, and before I was just like
How old are your kids?
2 and the one's going to be 2, and my son's going to be 2 next month, and my daughter's going to be 4 in 2 months.
Oh,
Five,
wow.
Sorry, 2 and 5.
Yeah.
We waited a little long
Yeah.
to do this. We got like all the partying out of our system.
It's a crazy age. I have the same. My kids are 2 and 5 right now.
Holy okay,
Yeah.
so mine are going to be 2 and 5 right now.
I'm in the exact same boat.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So I'm finding out certain things are easier right now than they were before. I mean, then it's still difficult, but you want to spend time with your kids. You want to have a fulfilling work life too,
Yeah.
and family life. So to balance it all, it's like,
Driving to the gym, driving back from the gym. You do,
I mean, there's
you-
30 minutes
yeah,
each right there.
Exactly.
So
You got to be efficient.
I do it all there, and I do it before they wake up
Yeah.
most of the time.
What time you get up usually?
Depends. I go through streams of I'm waking up at 5:30 to 5, or well, lately I was sick with pneumonia, so I wake up at 7. You know?
Yeah.
But normally it's by 6:15 I'm sweating.
Yeah.
Love that.
You have to by 7.
Coffee drinker?
Maybe after my workout,
Yeah.
maybe on my way to work.
Yeah.
But no, maybe a shot of espresso, maybe.
Yeah.
Like
Okay.
I used to, health wise, I had heart issues. I used to be much heavier. I used to be like 320 pounds.
Holy shit.
Wow.
So I was 80 something pounds heavier than what I am now. And I used to get AFib. So a little too much coffee or a little too much alcohol. And also your heart's like,
Fluttering.
yeah, going nuts. So ever since I lost the weight and got healthy, like it stopped.
When did that happen? When did you start losing weight and get healthy?
2016.
Okay. What was the change there?
4 times in the hospital in 1 year.
Holy
Very
shit.
regular heartbeat.
Yeah.
Just,
You had enough.
yeah, I was like, and then just changing my lifestyle, met somebody that I fell in love with.
Yeah.
I got married, all that stuff, and have a beautiful family. And it was motivation just to stick around, especially when you have kids. Now it's like,
Yeah.
holy shit, I really need to stick around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Well, you look healthy, man.
Thanks, man. I appreciate
Yeah,
it.
that's awesome.
Yeah, I was dying a few weeks ago. I don't know how good now.
You look great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well,
Thanks. Likewise. You know.
Well, welcome again. We're here with Emi Guerra from Breakwater. You're the co-founder.
Yep.
And I don't know if you had a chance to listen to the podcast, but we really want to go back to like day one.
You got it.
You're from Miami.
Born and raised.
Okay. Where are your parents from?
Cuba.
Both of them?
They came in the 60s.
Okay.
They came in the 60s, and they still live in the same house
All right.
in Miami Springs. In Virginia Gardens, actually, they live in. It's a small little neighborhood next to the airport, next to Miami Springs.
Gotcha. And were your parents in the hospitality business?
No, man. And I have 3 other brothers, and we're all in the hospitality. And
You work with them too, right?
I work with 2 of them. Yeah.
Okay.
2 of them. My third brother lives.
4 boys, huh?
There's 4 guys.
Wow.
My poor mom.
Yeah. What a crazy house that must have been.
Yeah, it was. We fought for food.
As you say, just beating the shit out of each other for no reason.
For food. Yeah.
What were you? Where were you in the lineup?
I was a third. I
Okay.
have 2 older brothers and 1 younger.
I got
I'm
you.
one of the middle guys.
Yeah.
So you got to be scrappy.
Yeah, no, so I didn't, my parents, my father was a pharmaceutical salesman and my mother was a teacher,
Okay.
and they're now both retired, and, you know,
So you grew up in Miami Springs.
yeah,
Okay.
I did. And I moved back there recently. It's where I call home, and it's like a small little community trapped in time.
Yeah.
If you ever end up there and you know people from there, it's a small town in a big city.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So you went to high school up there too?
No, I went to Columbus.
Okay.
And if you're in Miami and you're, and you want to stick around here, and you're a guy, there's basically 2 high schools you have to go to. You either got to go to Columbus or you got to go to Belen,
Yeah.
and you'll end up somewhere successful in life if you have a little bit of drive.
Yeah, both great schools. What subjects did you like in high school?
I was more of a math guy, maybe physics.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Were you
out of physics, and I was like a smart jock in high school.
What did you play?
I got 11 varsity letters and 4 in soccer, 3 in track, and 3 in football.
Nice, dude.
Yeah,
Show off.
I was a jock.
Yeah, but,
I've been this.
but you were a smart jock, huh?
I've been this size since 7th grade.
Yeah. What was your favorite sport though?
I mean, I love the aggression of hitting somebody full steam ahead in football.
Especially when you're that big or that young, you're I'm gonna run these guys over.
Yeah, it was aggressive. And then but I played soccer for like 17 years. My family was a soccer house.
Oh yeah, wow.
Apparently, I guess when you have boys, you want them to get tired.
Yeah.
Some parents, they stuck you in soccer.
Yeah.
But going to that high school and going up in the athletic community in South Florida and Miami, you got to meet a lot of people. And those relationships that I forged really helped my career down the road. I didn't even know it, but just surrounding ourselves with good people.
You know, Felipe, ever since we moved into Bureau, my productivity has been through the roof. I mean, I might actually be getting things done for once.
The energy at Bureau just makes work fun. Plus, with 8 locations across South Florida, from South Miami all the way to Hollywood, there's no excuse for not finding a spot to get your shit done, Ben.
And we're not alone. Over 500 local companies call Bureau home. Everything from creative agencies and real estate firms to tech startups, law firms, and media companies. It's a melting pot of brilliant people, and we don't include ourselves in that category.
We definitely don't include ourselves in that category. Bureau really has space for anyone, whether you're flying solo or have a team. There are suites starting at 100 square feet all the way up to 2,000 square feet. They also don't try to lock you into long-term agreements, and everything is month to month.
Let's not forget the important stuff either. The coffee is top tier, staff is incredible, and has a very entrepreneurial vibe. It's not just a workspace. It's a place where work actually gets done.
That's right, Ben. So if you want to level up your workday like we try to do every day, check out Bureau. You might even catch us sipping some espressos between podcast sessions.
Or tequila.
Definitely tequila.
Tell Bureau the Built World sent you, and you'll get 50% off your first month's membership. See you out there. Cheers.
Later. Yeah.
It makes sense.
And playing soccer, I grew up playing soccer in high school too.
Where at?
I grew up in New York.
Okay.
But you know, just the whole team dynamics, right? Like
Yeah.
you learn so much from that, right? Like, and even today, like in my work and companies that I've worked at, like I just go back to so much of what I learned from soccer, and you know, everyone having their position and working.
You gotta learn to pass the ball, man.
Yeah, you do. You do.
And then when you gotta take a shot, you gotta make sure you come through for your teammates, and you gotta be okay with other people taking a shot. And
Yeah.
there's team.
Yep.
There's no I in team.
Yep. So and then growing up in high school, did you have any jobs?
I did.
Because you're a scrappy guy. Like, when did you start working? Your first job?
Well, I was 14 years old. I started working construction.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You didn't fuck around.
My dad,
Training.
my dad put me. My uncle had a construction company, and I was 14 years old, and I was like 210 pounds and jacked, and I would carry bricks.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
And then so like my sophomore year summer, junior year summer, I worked in construction. And then the summer going into my senior year, I worked for Douglas Orr Plumbing digging ditches.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I was a junior.
You just loved the pain. You've always loved the pain.
And those were my summer jobs. Yeah. So I figured, you got to use an extra hand. I think back then it was $5 an hour.
Yeah.
And so I got to learn a little bit about construction, and that proved to be useful later on in life. But yeah, and those guys, I mean, you go there and you work, and they're like, dude, kid, whatever you do, stay in school. I quite understand that, why they said that, until one of them asked me to tutor them one day in math so he could get his GED. It was like, all right, I'm like 17 years old tutoring this guy. Anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like
Opens your eyes a little
surreal.
bit. Yeah.
Yeah, and then my senior year, I graduated high school, and then my soccer coach from high school, his family owned a restaurant, and I got a job as a busboy.
What restaurant? Where was the restaurant?
It was a restaurant at the Grand Palms Golf Course in Miramar,
Okay.
roughly, right?
Yeah.
Off of I-75. And I would work because I was going to school full time, and I was in sports, and I was whatever. So I
would go to. This is college now, or
high school?
High school. Okay.
So senior year in high school, and then I would on Sundays I would work the brunch, and I would, pick up plates. I was just, your busboy, pick up plates, dishwash, do my whatever I had to do to make some scratch so I could take out a girlfriend on the weekend.
Yeah.
Hustling.
Yeah.
And then you went to FIU.
Yeah, I went to FIU. I ended up going to FIU, and that's when I was working that job. So I'll never forget it. Right, I was working that job as a busser, and I remember taking my then high school girl out, and we go to a club. And back then, there was 18 and over clubs, and that was what you did. You knew all the clubs were on the beach. So go to the beach, and
what year is this?
This is 1996.
Okay, the beach is just starting to happen.
No, beach was happening already from the early 90s.
Yeah.
Right? So 96. And beach is really cool. It's a lot of, like, it's European. It's like a lot of French and European.
A lot of models.
Models.
Yeah.
It's like a whole scene for that.
The scene really starts early 90s.
Early 90s,
and,
yeah.
and
Early
so,
90s. And I was a kid, and there was like a secondary market, which was like all locals and like kids that would go to the beach. And so if a club ran its course in time, they would give it to a promoter, and promoter would throw some parties, and they would try to hang on for dear life and keep their places open. Anyway, and those were the less desirable parties, which is what I guess, an 18-year-old kid was at the time. So I remember one of the kids in our high school was like throwing a party, and I ended up going to my girlfriend with I only had like $30 in my name. I go over there, pay $10 each to get in. I have $10 left for like a Diet Coke. And I'm like, fuck, this sucks. Like, whatever, But then I'm like, man, there's like 500 people here. That means there's like $5,000 at the register. The promoter gets to keep that. I'm like, oh man, I could throw a party.
I know some people.
Yeah, it's like I could throw a party, and then I always try to be nice to people. I was like a people person, and started printing my own flyers and throwing parties. And
And so you were throwing parties in the
Senior
late
year in high
90s.
school. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Senior year in high school, I started throwing my first few parties.
Where was your first party?
Oh my God, it was a place called there's a place called Peppers. It was by Northwest 25th Street and the Palmetto Expressway. That place doesn't exist anymore. So we threw a party.
Restaurant or what was
It
it?
was like a bar,
Okay.
a restaurant bar, and
And they were down to have a bunch of 18-year-olds come in?
they were down with. This is a great one.
How many people showed up, by the way?
God, first of all, it was like 800 people showed up.
yeah.
Something stupid.
But
Project X style.
how did you get so many people there?
Do you print your own flyers and you just call hundreds and hundreds of people, and then if you're like a kid and you got an opportunity to go to a house party or a party and they're gonna serve you alcohol, you're like,
Yeah.
I'll go.
So where were you handing out these flyers? Because back then there was no email, there was
No,
no
school. You
yeah.
hand out flyers at school, and then you go out to other parties and you take flyers in your pocket.
Yeah.
And once the word gets out, it's like critical mass. It's just
Kinko's, or you go to Staples or Office Depot and you make photocopies.
Yeah.
And look, long story short, we got this club. The deal we made, the owner was like, well, I'll split the dough with you 50-50. You charge $20. I keep 10, you keep 10, and we'll give them the booze. And I'm like, okay. I ended up doing the first night. It was great. I made like $4,000. I think I remember graduating high school like 2 weeks later, the following week. And I did the party for a few more weeks. And then I show up to go to work like that one Saturday. And I show up and the place was on fire. Like literally. Like the guy, I guess, did an insurance job.
Oh,
And he was just liquidating the last one. I was like, I'm and I'm like naive. I'm
Wait,
like,
the party venue is on
Yes,
fire?
like, yeah. Like that's. I mean, I put two and two together. That's
Yeah,
what it
yeah.
was. Like, okay, this guy was just liquidating his stock, maybe he
Cash. Okay.
and just didn't care and whatever. So
That's amazing.
yeah, and if in my party career and everything, I've it's never been like a straight rocket shit up. I've lost, I want to say, almost everything financially at least 4 times.
Oh, wow.
The first time I lost everything is while I was doing that. I was doing those weekly parties. I was organizing a big concert. I really wanted to do a big concert. In my mind, it's like I could do 800 people here. If I get like a big act, I could do 3,000 people and I could charge them $30 and that's $90,000. Okay, that's like a lot of money. My dad doesn't make that kind of money. Like I could do this one night. I could do it a few times, a year.
Yeah. You're set.
I'm set for life. Like,
Yeah.
whatever. So I booked an act called the Quad City DJs. They had a really popular song called Come On Ride That Train. If you just Google that and listen to it and play it, I mean, you'll be like, oh my God. Anyways, that's a hit. Anyways, back then it was a hit. Long story short, I booked them, paid them all the money I had. I fell short on money. I had to invest in the party for radio ads and promotion. I booked it on the last day of public school, which was a Wednesday night, at a place called the Paragon in Miami Beach. It no longer exists. It's like a library now, that building. It was the last day of school. At the same time that I'm doing that, DJ Laz, who's like a famous DJ in Miami, he had another party going on at the Cameo Theater, and he used that same song as his commercial song. So it was like the #1 hit, but he didn't have big people like I did. He probably doesn't even know this. Laz, I'll forgive you if you see this. You probably don't even know this story, but this is true. So he's running the ads and the commercials, etc. Because he's a DJ at Power 96 at the time. And whatever, I spend all the money I had. I used to cut lawns as a kid, and wash cars, and I had like saved 18 grand plus another like 10 grand that I had from the parties and whatnot. By the time I was like all in $32,000, even borrowed money from a friend of mine to finish it off. Last day, like the party day comes, I show up to the club for setup. The club owner doesn't even know we're supposed to be there.
Oh shit.
My friend that had booked the club lied. He said, yeah, it's handled. It wasn't handled. I had to pay the guy money. It was one of these things. Then later on that night, it's like the biggest torrential downpour that's Miami's ever seen.
Oh, man.
Accidents on 836. Only 400 people showed up, and I just cried.
Well, I bet.
I was 18 years old, and I lost every penny I had.
Oh, my God.
And I cried. I remember going.
All 32 grand?
All 32 grand. I was done, and I owed money to like a buddy of mine.
Oh, my
Oh
God.
my God, it was the worst. And then I cried for about a week. And I'm like, oh, just gotta get back up and start all over again.
Yeah.
That's what I did. And I remember going. I was working doing some parties, and I was also working at a doctor's office doing data entry. Like, yeah, I was just, whatever I could do and go to school. And I remember every single week I'd take like $150 to my buddy in his mom's house and just pay them off. And it kind of just showed me like, hey, you're got to be a guy of your word.
Yeah.
This is 18 years old, kind of starting it back then.
How much did you owe him?
I owed him like 20, like $2,000.
Yeah.
It wasn't, I mean, back then it was a lot of money. It's still a lot of money, but it was like 10 weeks worth of work as a kid, right? So, and I would drive over there and just give him his money. And we gave him some free bottles, and he basically prepaid for like a party and whatever. It was his birthday party. Anyways, yeah,
That's
that was a lesson, and just kind of started all over again, and then started working with some guys, and I started working all the doors in Miami Beach. So I was like a 19-year-old kid working doors.
Like
I just like being the guy, like, yes, you can come in, no, you can't come in.
you were picking everyone from behind the velvet rope.
Yeah, that kind of thing, and just
You're hot, you're not.
Yeah, there was a group of guys that were doing parties at the time, and then they're like, "Hey, do you want to be a doorman? You're a popular guy." I was like, "I'll work the door. I don't know if I want to promote. I don't know if I want to take a risk all over again. I just got my ass handed to me. I needed some confidence, and
some base hits.
Yeah, some base hits, and at that point, the job was not only to be the door person, but also invite people all week.
Yeah,
go to school and just throw parties, and at that point, you're just meeting people, picking up phone numbers, talking to people.
This is college now, right?
This is college at FIU, and you're just, I joined a fraternity, found a good group of guys. They're still my friends today, and just started networking again in college, man. And it took off ever since. It's one party after the next, and then I linked up with Louis Puig, worked the door with him when I was 19 years old. And he had a bar on the beach called Club 609, and he was doing like 25 and older for guys at this time. And I'm a 19-year-old guy at his door saying, "Yeah, you can't come in. You can't come in." I'm like, but I'm 19 telling these guys they can't come in. So I was like, it's a pretty surreal moment. I worked the door there for a little while, and then
you have to break up a lot of fights there.
No, that was not.
That was
not me.
Yeah,
there was bouncers for that. I was too pretty for that shit.
At least you know your place.
Yeah. No, there was little fights here and there.
Yeah.
Nothing major. But then parties got bigger, things got bigger, and then I reconnected with Louis again, and he opened up a 609 in Miami, in Coconut Grove. Another Club 609, and I picked up Thursday nights on my own there with some guys. One of the sections of the club was mine, and we threw a party on Thursday nights called Pussy Galore. It was a
sounds like an awesome time.
It was a ladies' night, and the party just kind of like took off. It was a thing. Coconut Grove on Thursday nights was wild.
What year was this now?
This is 98.
Okay.
Where was 609 in the Grove? Like, where would it be today?
Today, it was behind Coco Walk, diagonally across the street from Mayfair.
Got it.
On Virginia Street.
Yeah.
There used to be a restaurant downstairs called Paulo Luigi's that was around for years, and now I think it's like an office building.
Yeah.
Anyways. It was a great time in my life. And then he tells me, "Hey, man, he was I found out he was buying a piece of real estate, or he signed a lease for a piece of real estate in the city of Miami." And I was 21 years old at the time, and was going to do like a big underground dance club. And I'm like, "Hey, man, I would love to work with you at this dance club. I want to start doing these rave parties at this place called Shadow Lounge in Miami Beach. I want to do those parties there. Then hopefully I'll come, work for you after." He's like, "All right, cool, do it, and we'll stay in touch about it." And I did, and then he's like, like 6 or 8 months later, he's like, "Hey, man, it's time to go. Let's have a meeting about that club in downtown." So we go to this dinner, and there was like a bunch of these older gentlemen there, and I'm sitting with them, and it was like, okay, so these guys over here are going to do the Saturday nights at the new club. The name of the club was going to be Park West 11, and these guys are are going to do the Saturday nights. It's going to be a big gay party, and this is Emi. He's going to do the Friday nights. And like we didn't even have like he's going to do the Friday nights, and this place is like you know, the name of the club is going to be Park West 11. The Saturday night gay party is going to be called Space, and the Friday party, Emi, is you know, we're going to call it Soul Searcher. And I'm like, Soul Searcher? I'm like, all right, cool, whatever. And I'm like nervous but excited. I'm 21 years old. And I was like, all right, cool, we're going to do this thing. And then over time, we started getting the name out. As construction goes, things get delayed a little bit, and the name starts getting out. These 3 different names.
And what year is this?
This is 99 leading into 2000.
Ben, you know what they say in real estate, if people don't know you, they're not doing business with you.
Exactly. That's why the Built World podcast works with top of mind public relations, because being a best kept secret sure doesn't pay the bills.
Paula Uspa Abbott, the brains behind Top of Mind PR, is a former real estate journalist, so she knows exactly what makes the media pay attention.
And let's be real, getting in the press isn't just about bragging rights. It's about building credibility, landing deals, and making sure the right people know your name.
Whether it's top-tier media coverage, killer storytelling, or just making sure you're the one people think of first, Top of Mind PR has you covered.
Want to stand out? Hit up topofmind-pr.com or email info@topofmind-pr.com.
Because in real estate, if you're not visible, you're invisible.
And the
So I get to Miami in 2000.
okay, so then you're going to realize this.
Yeah.
So as we're getting the word out, and I keep meeting people and talking to people, and you know, I'm 7 days a week inside this club helping build it, and I'm out 7 days a week telling people about this new party we're to start doing in this area in downtown. That's the fucking ghetto. Like, it's fucking gangster there, man.
This is over here a few blocks away from us. We're across the street from 11.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, where Space is now.
Yeah. Oh, well, actually, it's a block east of where Space is now, because it used to be in a different building.
Gotcha.
And as the word's getting out, everyone keeps calling the place Space, and I'm like, because the gay guys they throw these monster parties, and it's still, Miami Beach is still like half Euro. It's still like super cool. So everything model trendy is like half gay, whatever. And it's like, we end up, I'm like, yo, man, we got to call this place Space. Like, that's not even fuck around.
Was there a 24-hour liquor license back then?
It was created to help the district happen.
Okay.
Louis and George Nunez met with commissioner at the time, and with Lou Terminello, who's like the biggest liquor license attorney in the country, really. And he's like, hey, for this place to be successful and take away some of the stuff from Miami Beach, you know, you need an edge. And he's like, all right, well, let's get this blighted area. They circled it on a map, and it's like, all right, let's make this an entertainment district that can serve alcohol 24/7, and that will hopefully give you the edge you need. And the idea was, if you could bring in the cool, trendy people, you could bring in the clubs, eventually real estate developers will want to be there, and it'll flourish an entire new neighborhood out of scratch. And, you know, fast forward 25 years later, that's exactly what happened.
So quick question, though. Was Space the only place that got a 24-hour liquor license?
No, Gold Rush had one.
And was Gold Rush there already?
Gold Rush had opened up basically simultaneously.
Okay, so those are the only 2 locations that had a 24-hour liquor.
And then eventually others opened up, and as long as, you know, they allocated up to 9. So the way it works is a liquor license is provided by the state, and then depending where you place it, the municipalities designate the hours of which you could operate in.
Gotcha.
So if you placed it there, they would allow up to 9 there based on the amount of blocks and whatnot.
Gotcha.
Oh, it's amazing to see that played out, like you said, over 25 years. Today, that area looks a hell of a lot different than it did 25 years ago.
Dude, my car got broken into 13 times. Yeah.
So who owned the real estate?
So the real estate was, I don't know the name of the owner of the first one. But I could tell you that lease was like $3,800 a month.
Wow.
But the building didn't even have a roof. Like, it And then at that point, you were able to control the parking. We're like, hey, we're going to start releasing your parking at night after, of all the neighboring warehouses. And, the parking paid for the rent for the first 5 years. But then after, it was like, hey, we want to renew. They wanted like crazy money.
You're a victim of your own success at that point.
So Lewis acquired the warehouse down the street where space is now, and who owned it at the time he did it with Greg Ramelli. And
The
the
Mermellis are heavy over there. I think they still own some land there.
I'm sure they do. Greg is super cool. And then Greg and Dominic had a building next door. There was a lot of, movement going around. Like these people had the vision years ago. And then it worked out pretty well. And I saw that whole neighborhood kind of become a neighborhood. Eventually, I was like one of the first people to move into 10 Museum Park. I would stumble to and back from the club.
It's perfect.
It was perfect.
So what was your job at Space? What were you doing?
I started off as a marketing director, and over time became a partner. Ended up doing a deal to buy the Crowbar brand, and not the brand, but the building, but the business in Miami Beach, and named it back to the Cameo. And with that, struck a partnership deal with Lewis. He's given me the title as co-founder with him, and I've been there since day one. So I dedicated almost 17 years of my life to it.
Wow.
With Space?
Yeah.
Wow.
It was exciting. It was a fun time. And while I had Space, and I started a marketing company, and we started doing parties around the beach. And when we had the clubs on the beach, just leveraged, cross promotional opportunities between both places. So when we had the Cameo and we had Space, it was like, you can do parties at one to bring everybody there after.
Yeah.
And it worked out pretty well.
Were you partying hard during these years?
I'd go out 5 nights a week, 6 nights a week, 7 sometimes.
Yeah.
But I would always maintain regular office hours, somewhat regular, maybe.
So you weren't working nights.
Yes, to me, I consider going out at night working at
Yeah.
the time, because you're going out and you're meeting people and shaking hands.
And what time are you staying up till?
4.
Oh shit.
And then by 9 in the morning, you're up.
Fuck.
You have breakfast. By 10:30, you're at the office, and you're there till like 6 or 7 o'clock at night. And you do that Monday through Friday, and then you're at the club on the weekends. And so I would work 7 days a week, but it was more of a lifestyle. And you meet.
But you never got heavily caught up in alcohol, drugs.
Yeah, I've had my ups and downs.
Yeah.
Like anybody, I think. The alcohol was a tool.
Yeah.
Like it breaks down a barrier, maybe some social awkwardness.
That's why we drink on the podcast.
It brings down some social awkwardness and whatnot. But it lets you deal with maybe the stress of it a little bit easier. But this is when you're younger, you could do that, right? Like,
Yeah.
You going out was a task. So my typical, let's call it Saturday night, which is like the night. I'd show up to the club at 10 o'clock at night, welcome like the first group or the first wave of friends and people that I know in there, have a few drinks with everybody, get the party
Because 10
started.
o'clock is early here. Like,
Yeah,
it's no, especially Space. No one's really going there,
You're like,
right?
no, now no. But there was 3 waves of people
Yeah.
back then. So people would show up at say 11, and from like 11 to 1, I'd hang out with them and have drinks. The whole club would be open, everything would be set. DJs would arrive. You're like shaking everyone's hand. Then from like 1 to 4 in the morning, I'd leave Space and I'd go to the beach, and I'd walk in and out of every single club on the beach. I'd talk to every single bartender, have a drink at every single place that was open. Go back, I remember I'd hit up all the clubs on 6th Street real quick, and then maybe jump by like Chaos and then somewhere else, and then end up at the end, you just ended up at Crowbar, ended the night at Crowbar. Sometimes we would have a big bus waiting outside, and we just take drunk people, like, just get the
Space.
bus,
Yeah.
just go to Space. And we take the bus and end up at Space. And then how do they get home? Well, taxi, dude. I mean, there's no Uber back then.
It's a one-way ticket to Miami.
And then you're back there with everybody partying and having a good time. And before you know it, it's like you're drinking, you drank to welcome everybody. You drank on the beach, in and out of every single place, and had some fun. Then you get back there for after hours, and now everybody that you went and had drinks with before is there to see you again, and now they're buying you drinks. And before you know it, it's 11 o'clock in the morning. You've had 20 or 30 shots. You're like, you end up going home, sleeping on Sunday, and you're no longer a football fan because you missed going to a football game. So
Pickled.
yeah. But those, I think it laid a great foundation for who I am today. But it's not something that I could keep up with physically, nor would I want to.
Yeah.
I'm glad I did it. I don't regret it.
I mean, it's like the ultimate party. You had the ultimate trajectory from like throwing a party at a bar at 18 to starting space, club space, which is like
I know. I stuck.
you ran it up the whole way.
You ran it up. I mean, listen, and there was hits along the way, right?
Yeah.
I mean, because space was just like a monster on the weekend. Yeah, and it was on the beach, and then it became like an after-hours thing. I got an opportunity to do other parties, events, etc. And sometimes they work out great, and sometimes they didn't. I mean, I lost everything. I would say 4 times. It wasn't.
When was the second time?
Second time,
After space?
it was no. What space was a maintain like always was there.
Okay.
But I mean, I did a deal in Coconut Grove when I was 25 years old, 24 years old, where 609 was, and we lost it all. I raised money. We did a club. We called it Life.
How much you guys raised?
I mean, it was like a couple $100,000 just to redo it.
Yeah.
It was. We left the bars where they were. We just refinished the outside of it. We ran it. It did good for a little bit, and then we ran out of money. And then I floated the rest of it, like put $100,000 on my credit card just to keep it going.
Dang.
And we eventually got evicted. It didn't work out. I think the only consolation prize I have from it was the Amex points. And I got a set of Nike golf clubs. I still have them today.
Nice.
And it just humbles the shit out of me just to play with this today. These clubs cost me $100,000.
That's a good reminder.
Yeah. So that's the number.
And how do you
2.
bounce back from something like that?
Man,
You just keep going?
You could cry.
Yeah.
And be upset at yourself, but you just got to get up and try not to burn relationships along the way. And that's one thing I've always done, even when I lost it all and I couldn't pay somebody money for whatever reason. Eventually, years later, they got it back somehow, or we made do. And then the third time I would say it was 2008 during the downturn.
Sure.
We had places that closed that we just had to consolidate, and I had refinanced a home to cash out to do the Crowbar deal, and at that time it was all the money I had, and that sucked because in 2008 we were spread pretty thin. We had another place next door called what's it called? It was called Park West was the name of the club, and Rehab was the name of the bar, and the building next door to Space. Anyways, we had to close those 2, and we sold Cameo to Roman and the guys at Opium Group, and we just kept Space and just kind of started all over again. So that drained the bank accounts like down to 0 again, and then just kind of like pick it up and keep going again. And then the fourth time was the most recent one, and that I filed bankruptcy in 2016, and it didn't get discharged in 2017. And I was producing a large music festival. My former partner who passed away.
That wasn't called Firefest, was it?
No.
Okay.
No. It would have been if we actually went through with it, but we had to pull the plug. Like it would have been a similar experience, and we just knew that okay, you got to pull the plug. But we had raised some money. I had raised like $1.5 million, and then my partner and I had put in another, who passed away, Alex Holmes, who was the co-founder of Ultra Music Festival.
Oh, cool.
And we produced we were producing a festival called You Are One. We had raised money from family friends of ours. They put in like $1.5 million, and then Alex and I had put in like another $1 million out of our pocket, and then we signed some personal guarantees on a loan for a few $100,000, and ticket sales just didn't pick up, man. And at the time, we were batting 1,000. We were doing these really big parties with the Swedish House Mafia, and these massive pool parties that we did for like 19 years. Surf Comer Hotel and all that stuff.
Okay.
And we had to pull the plug, and eventually it just didn't work out, and had to cancel. And then the personal guarantee on that one loan came due. And then Alex was in the middle of litigation with his partners at Ultra. He's like, man, I'll cover that. Don't worry about it. And when, my Ultra case is over, and in the middle of all these negotiations and stalling and trying to sell everything, Alex passes away.
Jeez.
Wow.
And then it was like, and then they called me up. And they're like, hey, I know he was going to take care of it, but now it's on you.
Fuck.
I'm like, man, I'm sorry. And I had a BK, did a personal bankruptcy. We had just sold space. Like, it was like
Did you make any money on space?
a little bit,
Yeah.
but I used it to take care of debts,
Yeah.
take care of people. And when the festival business is so crazy because it's not like you could just make it up next weekend like you could a bar or club or any other weekend or any other thing. Your assets are all rentals.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, it was a massive hit. And filed BK, space sold, contract ends after we sold it. I let it run out. It was 2016, New Year's Eve, 2017, from 16 to 17. Took 8 months off, contemplated doing some real estate, got my real estate license. And in that,
You stayed, if those 8 months, you just stayed here in Miami.
I stayed. I explored going to Virginia to take a job with a friend of mine, and that was in real estate. And I went back and forth. I'm like, it's not for me. And then a friend of mine reached out, Alex Montecon. He's like, hey man.
How did you guys meet?
So we had mutual friends. Frankie Ruiz actually is one of Alex's best friends and was a fraternity brother of mine.
Is the running coach?
Yeah.
Yeah, nice.
And he's like, dude, you really got to see Alex. He's got this property on the river, man. You got to see him. You got to see him. So I go see him and I tell him, dude, you know what? I know what I want to do here. I proposed this project to him. I'm like, give me 60 days. I'm going to raise the money and I'm going to come back. And then I'll rent it from you. And then while you entitle the property, we'll have a pop-up for 2 years. And when you're done and you're entitled, ready to break ground, I'll leave. Because he wanted to find a tenant to rent, to do a restaurant or
create some cash flow on the internet.
And I just wanted to do a pop-up and, try to make some cash and keep it moving. And 60 days go by and I've tried raising money. Nobody wants to touch you.
How much did you need to raise?
I wanted to raise like 400 grand, maybe $500,000.
This is 2017?
Yeah, the beginning of 17. And he says, nobody, Lewis, Puig, we had partnered with Keith Menon, did some deals with him. He didn't, Just Levine. I can name like every single person that I either worked with or was a partner of mine. And nobody really loved the idea or me, or I don't know what it was, right? Anyways, time goes by. I go back to him. 90 days pass by. Alex is like, hey, man. I show up and I go, listen, man, I failed. Nobody wants to put up the money, but this is what I want to do. So I showed him everything. I showed him drawings, sketches, numbers. I'm like, dude, I think we'll do $3.5 to $5 million a year.
And just to give a visual, this was all shipping containers.
Right now there was
nothing there, but your concept was...
My concept was a big tent and maybe one pop-up restaurant within it serving, I wanted to do like a Spanish grill originally. But with a big tent exactly where it was and converted like to basically like an outdoor chill out vibe that turns into a party kind of place. But the food option was just going to be one food option. I wanted to do artificial turf and I wanted to do like a wooden deck. I want the boats. I want to be by the water, bars everywhere.
Had you seen a concept like this somewhere else?
In my mind, because at the time I had also, while I had space and all this stuff, for like 8 years, I did the Sunday parties at Nikki Beach. So my mind was, can I do like a pop-up party at Nikki Beach on Sundays?
You were responsible for those Sunday parties at Nikki?
For a good portion of time, there's people that started them before.
From what year to what year?
I want to say it was 2010, 10, either 9 or 10 till about 17.
All right, I'm hesitant to even share this next sponsor because honestly, it's going to make our competition even tougher. This is some real insider intel.
Yeah, if you're in commercial real estate and still buried in spreadsheets and busy work, listen up, because CRE Task Wizard is about to change your life. It changed ours.
This isn't some generic virtual assistant service. CRE Task Wizard was founded by former brokers Elijah and Kevin, so they actually get what brokers need.
Which is less admin, more deal making. Your teams handle research, data entry, listing management, lease abstracts, basically all the annoying stuff that eats up your day and nobody likes to do.
Imagine not having to update listings, dig through lease terms ever again. Even cold calling, you can focus on closing deals. They handle the rest.
And the best part, it's efficient, affordable, and built specifically for CRE brokers.
Want to reclaim your time and make more money? Go to CRETaskWizard.com and let the wizard work its magic.
Oh, yeah. You took over the Nikki Beach Sundays.
For a while,
Yeah.
like 2016. Yeah, so it's 2009 to 2016. So it's 7 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we were very successful. I was doing the Sunday nights specifically because daytime they didn't need the help. They were doing 1,000 covers for brunch on their own.
But that was much more of a club scene than what you were proposing here on the river, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but
You wanted that outdoor feel to it.
yeah, you want daytime. You want to do like a chill out thing
Right.
at the day.
Yeah.
Or you could do a club thing at night. It doesn't interfere with your
Right.
day because the people are different, right?
Totally.
Those people left. They have a beautiful venue. Can you do it at night? So the idea was that I said to him, listen, I said to Alex, listen, this is what I want to do. Everyone said no. If you know somebody wants to put up the money, I'm happy to do it. I don't need to own the whole thing. I'll work with anybody. I get along with anybody. I just think this would be great to do. It's like, hey, man, I'll keep my mind on, keep it in my mind. And sorry it didn't work out. If I find somebody, I'll let you know. Cool. Didn't think anything of it. I'm like, all right, that's, I'm exploring going to Virginia back and forth. Like, okay, I need to reset my life. I'm, not happy. Let's see what we do. And then 2 weeks later, he calls me up. He's like, yo, dude, what if I put up the money? And I'm like, dude, let's fucking do it. And it was a match made in heaven, man.
And what was Alex doing before? I mean, he owned this piece of land.
He owned this piece of land. He owned sorts of a really big parcel. Half of it, he started acquiring it like in 2010, pieces of it. And
Good time to be buying.
2010, it was like you got some on tax deeds or foreclosures, and he pieced it together. And then there was a city-owned piece that went out to RFP, and then he got that, and then he went to referendum and had it voted on. So he got like a 50-year land lease on the piece next door. We operated ours on the part that he owned, fee simple, and then he had the one next door that was the city lease. And he said, yo, when I put up the money, we do it. If it works, great. I don't know, man. I thought we were going to do $3.5 million for the year, maybe $5 million. We did that in the first 3 months.
Jesus.
So it was like, we had about 1 million people come through our doors in the first 13 months.
Damn.
It changed my life. My brother Alex was the general manager at Nikki Beach for about 12 years. He came over, started off as their GM. Now he's my COO. My brother Tony, who's owned nightclubs as well in Miami Beach. It's a club called Amica, another one called Aero Bar. In the 90s, he worked at a place called Bash with, like the most celebrity awestruck. He was a model on the beach. Like he was like running in that circuit. He worked with Sharif at the Forge for many years. So he came over as well, worked with me. And
How are you so wrong on making so much money on that at the Wharf? I mean, you estimated $3 million or $3.5 million over the year. In 3 months you did that?
yeah, I mean,
What did you underestimate?
I underestimated the lack of diversity that Miami was offering in terms of entertainment and the spaces. And when we created the Wharf, what I really wanted to decide, what I wanted to accomplish was having a place that was stress-free from a nightlife experience. Everything that I had ever done up until that point required cover charges and a velvet rope. And I underestimated how many people are tired of this shit.
Yeah.
And Miami
Right.
didn't offer any alternative. There was nothing else.
Yeah, for in that. I mean, Lanyap had opened up, and that was
Sure.
pretty cool. But it was just beer and wine.
Yeah. And the water aspect really adds to the Wharf too.
The water. I mean, it's like, and it was like lightning in a bottle, man.
It's crazy.
And then all of a sudden, everyone that stopped coming to my clubs that got older, that had families, were like, "Hey, can I bring my kids?"
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
"I don't see why not."
Yeah.
And we're like, talk to my brother. I talked to Alex, and I'm like, "Yo, dude, we bring some families or anything?" Like, yeah, let's just make sure they're not near the DJ. Okay, so no kids near the DJ. Okay, we could do that. This area is strictly 21. And, it turns out, moms needed a place to get out and have a glass of wine while the kids played ping pong or some shit like that.
Yeah,
Or
right?
beanbag toss.
Yeah.
Cornhole.
Artificial grass there. There was all these like
The yard games.
Yeah,
it's really like an Austin feel. Like when you go to Dallas or Austin, you go to
hangout.
Texas, it's just a backyard vibe. Like
Yeah.
it's
Yeah, like there's like an ice house in Texas and Dallas that's like, I think it's the Katy Trail Ice House or something like that. They have like a similar vibe. I had never seen those places, by the way. This was just, so it really was, and I can't take credit for the food trucks. That was an Alex Montagone thing. He's like, I want to do exactly what you said, but I think instead of having one grill, it might be easier for us to execute food trucks. I think I want to do food trucks. I'm like, yeah, man, we can figure it out. And
it worked.
And it worked. It
How-
really worked.
I saw a quote you had said somewhere that after you opened the Wharf, a friend said, "Congratulations, you're an overnight success after 20 years."
Yeah.
I mean, what was that feeling like after
Yeah.
all the ups and downs you'd been through? I mean, that was
Louis Garcia told me that. Louis Garcia, who owns Garcia's restaurant.
oh cool.
He told me, hey, congrats, Emi. It only took you 20 years to become an overnight success. I mean, like, people just don't know the fucking battles, right? They're like, they only see what they see.
Yeah.
Everyone's got their own shit to deal with, right? So, yeah, it felt really good, right? I felt vindicated, and I felt proud that, when you just got to believe in yourself and bet on yourself eventually, right?
And just keep
You just
picking
keep
yourself back up.
You gotta keep back up. I mean, the guys that are the most successful are just the guys that never quit. And I always said this, and I'm sure heard it a million times. It's really hard to beat somebody who doesn't quit.
Yeah.
Like, they just fucking get up. You see those old Rocky movies when he fucking gets clobbered by Drago or whatever.
And he climbs back.
Hey, these guys, he's getting back up and getting more black eyes. You know? Like, anyway, so that took off pretty well. It's an understatement, but and then I hadn't become friends with or acquaintances, and I kept cool with him. Nitin Madwani,
Sure.
which you guys who's been here, when I had space, because he bought all the stuff around it, and we were tenants of his at when I had the Park West nightclub. They had owned that building in like 08 or 07. I forgot. Anyways, and I was always the communicator between me and Lewis, and Nitin. I was always the one, talking to Nitin. So every time Lewis would do something crazy, like paint a building without telling him, it's just, it's a true story. One time, Lewis decides, like, hey, man, this block would look a lot better if that building was black also like ours. I'm like, cool. Yeah. He's like, that a week later, it was black. And Nitin,
And it wasn't his building?
no, it was Nitin's. It was Nitin's. And Nitin, or Ben calls me, or Ben was working with him, or Nitin. He's like, yo, why is our building black like yours? And I'm like, oh, man, dude, Lewis did it. And I'm like, they're like, what the fuck, man? I mean, we don't care, but fuck, you should. So he said something. I'm like, yo, I'm so sorry, guys. If you want me to paint it back, I'll paint it back. Like, what. They're like, oh, don't just, it's like, anyways. So I was always like the guy. And then, so Nitin, I guess, came by, and the people was
better
like,
ask for forgiveness and permission, right?
in most cases, And I guess God had a plan, because as I developed these relationships with Nitin, I got to hang out with Dev and set Dev up at Live a couple times. I had partnered with Dave Brutman years ago when we did the Cameo deal.
Who partied harder, Nitin or his brother?
Or Dev?
Yeah. Give us the turn.
Oh man, I could. Well, first off, they're both incredibly fun.
Yeah.
I see Dev more day to day because they were my partner in the Wharf Fort Lauderdale, and I'll get into that in a minute. But they both, I mean, They're both great.
They
I'm not gonna start any beef with these brothers.
They
man.
both could throw down, is what you're saying?
They could both hang, man. And I can tell you, they both could drink more than I can.
Yeah,
now,
definitely.
for sure.
Yeah,
I can't
shit.
drink for shit. So the Wharf Miami opens up and everything's it's phenomenal. We're riding on a high, and Nitin gives us a shout. He's like, "Hey man, you remember my brother? You took care of him. I live a couple times." And I'm like, "Yeah, I remember your brother." He's like, "Give him a shout. He's got a property. We've got a property in Fort Lauderdale that we think would be great for a wharf." So I'm like, "Okay, cool." So I meet up with him, see the property. He's like, I'm like, "It's great. Let me talk to my let me think about it, and I'll get right back to you." So I think about it, and I just go to Alex Montecona. I'm like, "Yo, man, this thing's caught on. I know you're not really into hospitality, or you're into it, but it's not really what you do. But I'm getting all these opportunities offered. I want to do them. You want to partner with me and do them?" He's like, he doesn't know. He's like a little iffy, and I'm like, "Come on, man. I think we could do it." And he's like, "Fuck it, let's do it." So we organized. We made a deal with Dev. And we opened up Breakwater Hospitality to like really organize ourselves.
Great name, by the way. Like, yeah.
Thanks. So I wanted to do
Makes me want to go sailing.
something, right? And we end up opening up in Fort Lauderdale. Dev was instrumental in getting the deal done.
So that was Breakwater's second deal.
Yeah, it was our second deal under the Breakwater, our first deal under the Breakwater umbrella, but our second deal together with the crew.
Yeah.
And we started getting organized. I mean, look, my first office was a 20-foot shipping container on the side of the river behind the wharf with like fucking, getting frozen in the winter and, because there's no insulation, and cooked in the summer. Yes. And, with fucking bugs flying in. We had bug zappers, and even during the daytime, it was like, zzz, boop, a bug's life. Getting, hear this popping sound. And then we eventually, ended up getting offices, and like, oh my God, we get an office?
We're legit.
Are you afford an office? Like, I don't know. I was also afraid to spend money at the time. I was just,
Of course.
I had just, look, I filed bankruptcy, and it gets dissolved in March 2017, and in November of 2017, we opened up to Wharf.
Yeah.
Like, I was like below zero, and at zero to fucking grand slam.
Yeah.
That's
great.
life-changing shit. So,
Did you meditate, or what did you do? How do we get to this zone to this grand slam?
dude, I don't know.
Is that manifesting 101 or what?
I have no idea.
That's great.
I thank God every day for
It's
it.
amazing.
I'd like to say that I did it all on my own, but man, there's a higher power out there that really helped me out on that one.
I mean, to go from the sketch and the idea, and you didn't even have the money. You're just like, here, if you want to do it, maybe, and then boom.
The one asset that I did have is the fact that I punished my liver for about 20 years
Yep.
of just going out every night of the week, and my Rolodex
Yeah.
was fucking
Deep.
insane.
Yeah.
It was deep, right? Like the fact that I dealt with like somebody like a Nitin, right? And he liked me enough to say, "Hey, would you want to be one of my tenants at this piece of land I have?" That shows he at least, I guess kind of liked me, right?
Yeah.
So, we opened the Wharf Fort Lauderdale. Just to tie that up, we opened the Wharf Fort Lauderdale, and I mean, it was 25,000 people a weekend coming through.
Jeez.
It was monster.
Crushing
We were
it.
Crushing it.
What was doing bigger numbers here, or Miami, or Fort Lauderdale?
I want to say they're about the same. I think there's certain weekends Fort Lauderdale's like slightly bigger.
Is it a bigger area?
It's in the middle of the density. It's a slightly more square footage,
Got it.
slightly more. But what I think makes the difference is that the Fort Lauderdale crowd loves to drink.
Yeah.
I was gonna say it's the perfect concept for Fort Lauderdale.
They
Chilling and drinking. It's just like,
Fucking love it.
yeah.
Bunch of fucking lushes up in America.
Man, it's great, and the crowd is fantastic. And look, Miami is obviously its own home.
How many square feet is Miami, and how many square feet is Fort Lauderdale?
Everything that we do is an acre.
Okay.
Acre, 1.25 acres.
Okay.
Fort Lauderdale's like 1.25. Miami's about an acre.
Yeah.
That includes some amusements and whatnot, but you need an acre, man.
Yeah.
Like there's no way around it, right? And Fort Lauderdale's 4 months into it, and we're fucking cooking, and COVID happens,
Oh,
and both places need to shut down. And I'm like,
You're like, here we go again.
yeah. Now, fortunately, my wonderful partner operates extremely conservatively, and he's like fiscally extremely responsible. Other people I've partnered with in the past are striking checks and driving Rolls Royces and Bentleys, and they don't give a shit.
Alex is doing that.
Alex doesn't play that fucking game.
Good.
He's like, I show me, no matter how much money you have, you could always have a budget that makes you go broke.
Ben, you and I are all about PropTech. And if there's one tool we absolutely cannot live without for our commercial real estate brokerage business at Gridline Properties, it's Visda.
Absolutely. Vista is incredible. We use it every single day. And we're always wondering, how do they do this? Every evening we get an email from them with real-time closed transactions. No more waiting around for months for the property appraiser to finally update.
Yeah, whether you're doing industrial, retail, office, land deals, they have every closed transactions. And it's not just the speed, Ben. The details are on point. Seller and buyer info, contact details, phone numbers, emails, everything is accurate.
It's hands down our top prospecting tool to farm for warehouse deals in Hialeah. Visda keeps us one step ahead always. It's also the best way to search for comps when putting together opinions of values for clients.
Head on over to Visda.com and use code BuiltWorld and get 30 days free access today. VIZZDA.com.
So we always operated with like serious reserves in case of a rainy day. Thank God. And we were able to keep our core staff employed.
But COVID only really happened for like 6 weeks here in Miami and in
9
Florida.
months we were closed.
9 months?
9 months we were closed in Miami.
That's heavy.
We opened up in late November in Miami. The weekend.
Why were you closed that long? It was
Because of, so restaurants were able to start opening again if your tables were like 6 feet apart and stuff like that. A bar, especially a popular one like ours, people are like, oh, you need a social distance. We're like, yeah, we'll put little dots on the floor. Fuck that, man. You would think everybody would come to our places. We're outdoors.
Exactly, yeah.
I mean, we even did things for for optics where we had like a mask patrol.
yeah.
Like,
Oh, God.
like we had extra masks.
Just the biggest Karen in the town.
Yes, dude, we had a bunch of carrots just to remind people to put their masks on if they're not drinking.
Yeah.
And we did that just for optics so that we could open up. We opened up in Miami. We get a little bit of shit because, I mean, you're the only place open in the United States.
Right.
Florida and like Miami exploded, right? We opened up in Fort Lauderdale that same weekend. It was like the weekend after Thanksgiving. I remember it. In Fort Lauderdale, just like Miami, it's like 6,000 people showed up.
Damn.
And like, it was like COVID never happened.
Yeah.
Some people,
Super spreader event right there.
well, that's exactly what they accused us of doing. They accused us of being a super spreader. They accused us of killing people.
Oh,
it
yeah.
was like one of these things.
It's amazing how drastic.
Then we talked to the politicians. They're like, look, man, we don't care, but they don't want to they don't want the headache either. So we're like, you know what? We'll just wait. So we waited and opened up mid-February in Fort Lauderdale. We were closed for 11 months.
Damn.
Hey,
So we opened up for one weekend, rehired everybody, had to let everyone go
Jeez.
and just take it in the end. Yeah.
Oh,
Just take it hard. Anyway, so fortunately we opened up in February and it was fucking all systems go. Man, I've cursed a lot today.
that's what we're here for.
But
That's what we're here for. Yeah.
but we opened up and it was all systems go, and it was gangbusters, right?
It's been ripping ever since, I would assume.
Yeah. It's been phenomenal there, Miami, and then the phone calls were coming in. Before COVID, I was working on something with Gulfstream Park. We ended up opening up Carousel Club with them.
Yep.
During COVID, we did the construction and eventually opened up in April of 21, I think it was. I mean, we opened up for Pegasus of 21 and then had to close back down and to get the proper permits to open. And that worked out great. Then after that, we started taking I wanted a girl, man. In my mind is if I could get 10 wharfs, I could sell a company for
Yeah.
9 figures, right? Those volume, if you do that. As I've found out over time though, I mean, with 5 of these mega places, let's call them, in South Florida. Like there's only so much volume you could do in South Florida before you have to go to another totally different area, right? But right now we'll do 40 to 50,000 people a weekend in and out of our venues.
Wow.
Yeah.
And when did Regatta Grove open up?
Okay, so when we had Miami and Fort Lauderdale, we were also working on, during COVID, we picked up, and you asked me Regatta Grove, I'm just
Yeah.
filing in my mind.
Yeah.
We picked up John Martin's in Coral Gables.
That's right.
Oh, that's a great spot.
And that was
That was an old Irish pub, right? What was it
Yeah.
before?
yeah,
It's
John
still
Martin's.
it's still Irish, right?
Yeah,
Oh, it's the
still
same
Irish.
name.
Yeah, still have Irish
Okay.
flavors there, and just
But the skylights you added in there and
yeah, we
everything,
added the
it
skylight.
made such a difference.
Yeah, I mean, you just want to like, what do you do? I mean, I think the old traditional Irish bar, super cool.
Did you guys buy the real estate too?
No, we really wanted to, but Steve Patel from
Oh
Yeah,
yes,
we know
on the podcast.
He's a real pain in the ass, huh?
Yeah.
he's
I hope he's listening to this.
Yeah, I sent him an email yesterday.
he's a tough businessman.
Yeah.
He's a tough businessman, but they've been cool. Did a deal, got in there.
If he gives you any shit, let us know. We'll get on it. We'll get on it.
He did his homework. He called the Badwanis here. Are these guys good? Are they cool? Like, I mean, he did his homework
Yeah.
on us, and listen, that's more of a passion thing, but I think and the tradition, keep the tradition alive.
And I saw you've been shooting your podcast there.
Yeah.
That's really cool. I love that setup.
Thanks, man. It was how do you provide? Look, I think the reason for the podcast is how do you promote your places and yourself without having to go out 7 nights a week drinking with everybody like you used to, right? Like it's super taxing. So
Unsustainable.
it's unsustainable. So I think now as a business owner, one of the best things you could do is be in front of a camera and or in front of the media and get your story out and the purpose of your places out as much as possible. So unfortunately, those guys closed during COVID. We had the opportunity to pick up, lease it up. And we just were like, Alex and I were talking like, well, what do we do? What do we call this place? We're like, man, no matter what we call it, they're going to call it the Old John Martin's. Okay, let's call it the Old John Martin's and do kind of old number 7 whiskey, kind of whatever.
Yeah.
Let's just call it the Old John Martin's. So we're like, wait a second. Why don't we just call it John Martin's? So we reached out. We told the landlord, listen, the only way we'll do this is if we could keep the name John Martin's. Do you have their number? I'm like, yeah, here's their number. We end up meeting with Martin Lynch. Fell in love with the guy. Guy's great.
Did they have a
Story's
trademark on the name or anything like that?
No, he didn't. I
Yeah.
could have done it, and we could have done shit.
Yeah.
But that would be bad karma, and I would never do that to somebody, especially after they put 30 years of their life through it. And the story of how they put their kids through college and worked, like, you're not going to steal somebody's heart and soul and not have them bless it or get them involved financially, right? So met with him, made a deal with him, made a deal with the landlord, opened it back up. And it's been pretty awesome, man.
Yeah.
It's our hangout spot. It's where we have our meetings if we can. It's, obviously St. Patrick's Day is a monster there. And
I got fucked up there with St. Patrick's. Did you?
There you go.
I can't even remember how long ago, but it was brutal.
It's been around for a while. And the idea of behind the remodel is like, okay, if John and Martin, if you had an Irish father that owned an Irish pub and you married a Cuban girl from my family from Miami, or a Miami girl, what would this place look like and how would you cater to it? Well, you'd keep Irish favorites, but you would add some American stuff, right? And just that's what it is. And we're like, okay, but how do you make it modern? Okay, well, let's add, Irish likes whiskey, right? Yeah, cool. All right, let's add 400 whiskeys. And so we carry 400 whiskeys. We have lockers. We added a little bit of light to make it a little more modern. But by adding the skylight, right? That was one of the big moves.
It was a great move. I think it
Glass
just
windows.
changed the space completely.
Make it a little more feminine,
Yeah.
friendly, right? And that's it, right? It was that. So yeah, man, I love John Martin's. that happened during COVID. We then met with the Ashkenazis and did a deal with Bayside. And actually, the person that introduced us to Ben and Isaac Ashkenazi and also brought the John Martin's deal to us was Eric Paso. Eric owns Black Market in Miami. It's like a sports bar in Bayside and in downtown. And he's like, hey, they offered this to me. I think this would be great if you guys want to do it. Why don't we do it together? And so he's a partner with us on those 2 locations. And Eric's super cool. He's super connected. And the best thing was Bayside, obviously, and doing that deal. That was pretty rad, the Pier 5 deal. It was crazy because we had Pier 5. We had John Martin's Pier 5 and Regatta, all like deals getting done at the same time and all going into permits like one after the next after the next. So construction wise, it was bam, bam, bam. And it was like opening, 6 months later, another opening, 6 months later, like another opening. And it was a stressful time for us. But fortunately it worked out pretty cool. Pier 5 at Bayside, like if you came into 2000s and you've been here for a while too, right? So
I've been here since 2010.
It's been 2010. So that's Main and Main of Main and Main.
Yeah.
It's super commercial. The property was deteriorated, but we took basically the whole middle of it, put in, that was just me and Alex, funding it, no partners, no nothing, and we went all in. And I can honestly say it's really helped transform that mall, that now they are investing heavily and have signed some really good tenants. So for anybody who's in real estate out there, we're really good at attracting tenants.
Yeah, that's awesome. I bet.
So
Because that becomes the center, the driver of people going there.
Yeah, and that was the idea, and I think they've got like a bunch of great tenants lined up. I mean, Coyo Taco's opening up. I heard they have like Sandwich de Miami opened up.
I mean, it kind of changes the profile of people going there too, because that was all just
over
like
time.
shitty like retailers, and
It was all tourists.
it was all like but low end tourists.
And it still is all tourists, and there's still, you could argue high end, low end, like
Right.
it's average tourists,
Right.
right? I mean, it's if you're in Miami for a certain amount of days, I mean, why not go to an outdoor mall where you could grab a mojito, and a
100%.
frozen drink, and just walk
100%.
around and maybe do like a little tourist boat thing, right? Like,
But I think your concept elevated that whole thing so much.
I think so too. I mean, we carry 300 types of rum in the main bar. We carry 150 types of tequilas at the tequila bar. And where Mojito Bar was there, now we've finally started the construction in that portion. So we've had 2/3 of the venue open for the last year and change. And in a few months, we should open up our final portion of it. Altogether, it'll be about 42,000 square feet. So almost an
Holy
acre.
shit.
In the
Damn.
middle of
Yeah. You love your acres.
Yeah, dude. I mean, look, believe it or not, it's a small place and a big place is the same amount of work. You could argue that a big place is easier to manage and operate because you actually have a team, where a small place, you have to wear a lot of multiple hats
Right.
as the owner, right? So if you're going to swing at bat, you might as well swing for home runs.
Love that.
At least that's always been my motto. But that's worked out great. And while we were doing that, we were trying to do a deal with dear friends of ours at the Trio Group who had the lease over the land lease over at
In the Grove.
in the Grove. And
So that was city land, and they had like a long-term land lease
yeah,
on
they
it.
have like 100-year lease on it, or 90 some whatever. They have that hangar, Bayshore Club and
So sick.
Regatta where we are.
Such a great addition to the Grove.
I mean, they really
So
did it.
beautiful.
It's so nice
Yeah.
over there. It's phenomenal. And we wanted to do the hangar. I had drawn up.
Oh, yeah.
I had drawn up several concepts to try to take the hangar and try to pitch them. Can I take the hangar? Hey, man,
What's going on in the hangar now?
So it's an event space, and they do a great job
Yeah.
at doing events there. They house like they do the jazz festival. They do like not to speak for them, but they do amazing like art festivals, big buyouts, huge weddings. Like it's just an amazing 15,000 square foot high ceiling venue, and they do massive events and
Yeah.
pop-ups.
Just so people know, that's where the old Pan Am airport was, right?
That was a 1920s, 1930s old airport,
Yeah.
the seaplane airport,
Yeah, the
seaplane base. Right? So
I love those images from back then.
those are
so
super cool. And next to it, part of the land they create into a massive casual restaurant Bayshore Club, which is insanely busy. They do incredibly well. And then where the Chart House was and Scotty was, that piece of dirt, they were supposed to build like a couple high-end restaurants. That's what it was in the plan, and they still are going to do that, and they're going to do it. But it was like, okay, this is a lot of stuff to happen all at once. How do we get more people to this area, stabilize, and then continue with the plan so that it's successful for multiple years and not just dump a bunch of money and have it all fail or leave it empty, right? Because the other option was just they were just going to leave a big blob of dirt there, and because they didn't have to, based on their contract, they didn't have to build it for, by any particular. There was no.
There's no deadline, right?
Required start date for that piece of land. So after speaking with the city and making things happen and getting their blessing, we're like, okay, we're going to use this as we're going to be here temporarily to help stabilize, get through this cycle, and then they'll pop it up. And Regatta Grove has just been insane.
Such a sick spot.
It's insane.
You guys did a beautiful job with that.
Thanks, man.
Whose idea was it to elevate it?
So,
Because I love that.
That is by code you had to be like 14 feet.
Oh, really?
NGVD, I think 14. I think that's what you call it, right? 14 feet NGVD, and so you had to.
I just think I see so many places on the beach and in Miami where I'm like, why haven't people not elevated this so you could see the water? And that elevation to be able to see the surrounding water changes
like
everything.
That.
Yeah.
It's beautiful like that, and you have to because I guess of the
sea level,
sea level laws and whatnot.
Yeah.
But it is the best view of Miami.
I think it's a FEMA. It's a FEMA thing.
It's a super. You can't beat that view.
No, what a vibe! It's such vibe.
You can't beat that view, and if you look at it, it's essentially almost the same design as a wharf in terms of a layout, but aesthetically,
Just looks really high end.
yes, aesthetically that's what it was, right? Like I think for the first wharf, I think we spent like $700,000 building it.
Wow.
Eventually like $1 million, and this was like 7 and change, right?
Yeah.
Almost $8 million to get it where it was, and now it's built right. Like the other one was supposed to last 6 months. This is we're gonna be there. The goal is to be there for like 7 or 8 years, and hopefully just be a great asset to the community. And I can tell you, I believe we are. The proof is in the numbers. You get a beautiful crowd that comes during the day of families and boaters and a lot of Grovites, and we made sure we went to the Coconut Grove Village Council to get their blessing. We met with a bunch of groups. We met with community stakeholders. We've got everybody walking through there. It's like, this is what we want to do. What are your concerns? Sound was a major concern because you literally have the most expensive condos in all of Miami, like right there, right? I mean, I think George Perez lives right there. There's $20 and $30 million condos in front of us. Never gotten one noise complaint in a year. That was ours, truly ours. We got a special sound system that cancels noise in a specific direction, in their direction. Everything else pushes out towards the water.
Oh, that's cool.
And you play at a responsible level.
What time is last call?
Legally, it's supposed to be 4.
Damn.
But we by 2 o'clock, it's already slow. By 3 o'clock is closing time.
Yeah.
3 o'clock, we're done for sure. And we're open the next day at noon. So you got to get the staff out of there. They got to sleep and you got to stagger in. So with all these things, I think like our goal moving forward is, I want to go north. I think
North where?
Palm Beach.
Palm Beach would be great. We're looking at Palm Beach.
Palm Beach is pretty stuck up. I think they need some chill spots.
Yeah. Their employees need somewhere to go.
Oh, yeah.
Some of those people.
Not even get those old people out throwing some beanbags. I mean.
Yeah, I think that's great. I think also, I love Tampa and St. Pete.
That's a natural fit. That makes sense.
I love Tampa.
And those are wharf concepts that you'd want to do?
Yeah, so I would do one of our outdoor concepts, right?
Yeah.
If it's commercial tourist driven, it'll be a Pier 5. If it's on the water, I would do a wharf or a regatta type of concept, and that's the goal, right? Like I said, with the amount of people we have coming through in Miami right now, it's very difficult. I think if I were to, we are opening up another place. I can't really announce it now. It's going to be awesome.
Miami?
In Miami.
Oh yeah.
It'll be another about an acre.
On the water too?
No, it's not going to be on the water. But we developed this concept to be basically like the Latin version of Regatta. So it's a
Cool.
so the way you're able to operate all these venues is you just got to target a crowd that doesn't cannibalize the other place, right? And we found the formula for that, we believe, and we have an angle for it, and we're looking to pop this thing open pretty quickly, hopefully by next year.
What's going on, Builties? Ben and Felipe here. Wanted to cut in and tell you guys what we're working on. Believe it or not, podcasting is not our full-time gig. We're commercial brokers here at Gridline Properties, focused on industrial. And we've really identified the submarkets of East Hialeah, Opelika, and Golden Glades.
Yeah, we're big believers in those areas. The industrial warehouse space has grown tremendously in the last few years, particularly out west. The developers have been building product in the 100,000 square foot range. These areas, particularly Opelika, East Hialeah, and Golden Glades, have smaller warehouses, and we think those are going to do extremely well in the next 10, 20, 30 years. There's always going to be a need for small businesses and smaller spaces close to the urban cores, so we're extremely laser focused on these areas. So if you have a warehouse in the area or looking to buy or lease, or if we can help you lease or sell your property, reach out to us.
Yeah, we're just seeing a lot of value in that area. Everyone's getting priced out of Doral, getting priced out of Little River and Wynwood, and Hialeah is kind of the last frontier. And it's a wild west out there. So come on for a ride with us. Hit us up.
Cool. Quick question about Fort Lauderdale Wharf. How long is your lease there? I mean, because the Matuanis own a really nice piece of land there, right? They're eventually going to develop that.
Yeah. So listen, hopefully we'll be there for another 5 years.
Yeah.
That's, I believe as partners, as long as they're making money and listen, obviously the highest and best use there is to go vertical.
Yeah.
What I'm hoping happens there is what's happening in Miami, where we did a proof of concept, we smashed it, and we're able to develop a concept where it could go back in. Right.
In the same place.
In the same place.
Oh.
And you can build on top of it. In Miami, we're doing that where the Wharf is. We closed it down. We should be breaking ground very soon. We already started the site work and
for the hotel.
Right?
Are you involved in the hotel at all? Or
Myself, I'm involved as an LP partner and as a hospitality partner. We'll obviously have the Wharf.
Shout out to Driftwood too, because they're involved in that as well, right?
Yeah, Driftwood.
Carlos Rodriguez.
Yep.
Yeah. Carlos.
Built World alumni.
That's right.
Carlos are phenomenal.
Yeah,
They are. They're amazing.
Carlos are phenomenal. Alex and them got together.
Cool.
And Breakwater is the hospitality partner there. We help curate, all the hospitality there.
So you guys are gonna bring back the Wharf there?
The Wharf will be coming.
That's permanent location.
Permanent location.
That's amazing.
That's awesome.
Permanent location, and
That's so cool to have the OG location as permanent.
yeah. And I think it'll resonate because you may have had some younger, let's call it grads that went there, and then when we reopen it, these grads will hopefully be successful and be like, this is gonna be the spot.
Yeah, we got to go back.
Yeah,
Pay homage.
So and us older guys, let's say, would go back in their boats and their whatever, and like I think that from the community standpoint, it will resonate really well. And we're really excited about that. But hopefully we could do the same thing in Fort Lauderdale with Devin and their team of guys over there that they have. Fort Lauderdale's been really great. I saw you had Tim Petrillo on the podcast, and he's a neighbor of ours. He's a friend.
Oh yeah,
Those guys are awesome.
those guys are so fucking cool.
Really cool.
Yeah,
They changed our outlook on Fort Lauderdale. We haven't shot on Fort Lauderdale nearly as much since they took us
Oh
out.
man, let me tell you, Fort Lauderdale is phenomenal.
yeah.
Fort Lauderdale is phenomenal. We have a restaurant in Fort Lauderdale. We had one called Rivertail. It closed. It didn't work out, the concept. We closed it down. Then we partnered with these guys who own Toccato and Vitolo over there. And we opened up a new restaurant where Rivertail was, called Mykonos. It's a Mediterranean and Greek-inspired restaurant. And it opened up 2 months ago. And they're smashing it.
Yeah.
They're really good at it, and the food is phenomenal, and it's super busy. And then part of it is a cocktail bar called Swizzle. So the guys with Swizzle in Miami did a pop-up. It's like a Swizzle drinkery. It's like a proper mixology cocktail bar where you want to go for a drink, guys like that are successful, or if anybody just like that's like a connoisseur of a proper beverage.
Yeah.
These mixologists are like scientists.
Oh, that's
man.
awesome.
They make sick cocktails.
That's awesome.
Everything from the smell, the preparation, the glassware. They, you know, they don't just hire a bartender. You have to be like an apprentice for a couple years before you even get to make a drink for somebody. It's super cool what they do.
That's awesome.
So, Wharf, you're looking at Delray, Palm Beach, St. Pete, you said?
St. Pete and Tampa would
Tampa?
be great, man. And listen, if anybody listens to this and they have an acre,
Yeah.
Hit us.
so
Yeah.
an acre on the water,
Hit up Emi.
you want to get some, you know, want to land bank some while, make some money, and hopefully provide a proof of concept. We're really good at igniting neighborhoods. Let me tell you, like that area in Fort Lauderdale where we opened up was going through its transformation. It was all under construction. You had 2 towers next to us, 650 units on one side, where PMG was building. Well, now it's Society, or now it's Flow, I think. Anyways, on the other side, yeah, now it's called 10X, but it was for West Las Olas. You had another building next door, so we had 800 units abutting us, 900,
Wow.
250 and 650, right? 900.
All those guys, all those units are your customers.
Yes,
Yeah.
they marketed those units to us. Like
Yeah.
they 100% marketed their billboards outside their building while they were under construction was had too much to drink, question mark, stumble home, now leasing. Right?
Perfect.
It worked out great. And I was what I really noticed is at first when we would open up in a new neighborhood, one of these joints, everyone would freak out like, oh my God, they're taking everyone's business. And yeah, the first 2 weeks, the whole world would show up to see what was going on. But what we have found out over the course of a year is that we actually help improve everyone's numbers around us. I would say 10 to 25% in some cases, all the restaurants. Because people come and grab a snack
Yeah.
with us, but then they'll go eat somewhere else. They would say the word eat twice.
Yeah.
I'll grab a bite with you, but we're going to eat somewhere
Yeah.
else. Or they'll go eat somewhere, then
Drink.
drink with us,
Yeah.
right? And it worked out really well. I think it worked out great for Tim and them, and we've just been cordial, right?
Yeah.
And listen, when 20,000 people come in and out of your venue in one weekend, like they do and did in Fort Lauderdale and they do in Miami, it helps everyone around.
Rising tide lifts all boats.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Love that.
that's exactly what it is. And so you know, developers have reached out, and some people are smart enough to have noticed that, and some of them try to do it on their own, and more kudos to them. But we have a pretty tight system. We're set up to expand. Now we have like real offices. There's like 30 people in an office
Wow.
cranking.
That's a crew.
We have like a crew.
Soon you guys are going to be wearing suits.
Yeah. Sometimes, right? You have, depending on who your meetings are with, right? But what's great is you know, we have almost about 500 employees now. We've experienced a crazy amount of growth. We have a lot in the pipeline being built between the hotel and that, and the new project coming up. And yeah, it's been a dream come true, and you just want to keep growing, right?
Yeah.
If you stop growing, you start dying.
Sounds like your hair's been on fire since 2017, basically.
Yeah, and I've lost a lot of it.
By the
That'll
way,
happen.
we're headed to the ULI Florida Summit in Bonita Springs in June. That could be a cool event for you.
Yeah.
Because there's going to be a lot of West Coast developers over there.
Really?
Yeah.
I gave a talk. I spoke as a guest speaker at one of the I think it was a ULI one. It was across the street from, I forgot the name of the building. It was here in downtown.
Yeah.
It was a year or two ago, and it was pretty cool to talk about entertainment, the evolution of hospitality, and how it coincides well with real estate and the goals of real estate developers and whatnot. Because everybody has this great piece of land and they want to hire some best use for it.
Yeah.
It's just gonna sit there empty.
You
You could use it as a parking lot,
yeah.
or you could try to get a little more.
Activate it, right?
You could activate it.
Yeah.
What'll end up happening, and what happened with us, is you use it as a proof of concept for what you want to do in the area, to prove that people will go there. You get to learn. You can capture a market. You could almost pre-promote things, and you know, depending on what you're building there, you could use it as a leasing center. I mean, there's so much you could do with it.
Yeah.
We found it as an amazing vehicle to obviously generate revenue, create a vibe, use it as a proof of concept. But the biggest asset that we have as a company is, believe it or not, our data. I can tell you, people that come in and out of your venues, you know, they spend money on their credit cards. They RSVP to come in, a lot of them. Before you know it, I mean, we have close to about 1 million clean emails, most of them with birthdays. Clean, meaning they'll open up,
Yeah.
17% open rate on email blasts, stuff
Wow.
like that. And you just got to make sure you're not too spammy and whatnot. But for the most part, you have all this data, then you're able to use it, leverage it to birthday parties, corporate events, and whatnot. But then if you have a product or something you want to launch, corporate businesses look for your venues to assist. And now you're just no longer a box. You actually can help them accomplish their goals. And some of the real estate companies have approached us in the past, like, hey, we want to do a leasing party, or hey, we're going to start this new development, or hey, can we advertise? And if I was a developer at first, I think what Alex Montegon and us getting together was great and strategic for him, because now you have another arm, and Tim has this obviously in Fort Lauderdale with his partner.
With Alan, yeah.
Yeah, those guys, it's the real estate and hospitality obviously go hand in hand really well. Sometimes hospitality for a lot of real estate companies is a loss leader. They do it just so they could like make a place cool, or as an amenity for a hotel. And what we've found is that it could actually be the main revenue driver, and a lot faster if you do it right.
Yeah, the problem is most operators don't know how to control expenses very well in hospitality. That's always the issue.
Well,
your margins are thin to begin with. So
they are, and it's gotten a lot tougher lately. Obviously, there's the tariff thing is like the new buzzword, but there's always something, right? Before that was inflation. Before that, it was employees and COVID, and nobody wants to work. Like you could, and then the other thing now is like, who's really eating, right? Everyone's on Ozempic, or Manjaro, right? And then now everyone's doing coffee parties. Okay, so these guys are drinking coffee instead of eating, or drinking. What the?
I feel like coffee parties is a big recession indicator. That's
so.
We're reaching, guys.
But it's a cool vibe, I guess, if you want to be sober curious.
That's a Gen Z thing. I don't get it. I don't get it.
I joke around saying that they haven't had any real problems yet, so they haven't really started drinking.
Yeah, there you go.
They usually take those to to have a few drinks as a solve. Like, oh man, I'm taking the load off at night. So that's in general the hospitality journey. I think it's been a wild ride.
Very cool.
Sounds amazing. What an amazing story.
Yeah. But I think the fortunate stuff is that now I get to do real estate stuff too.
Are you buying any land, any buildings, anything of that sort?
On a personal level, I have a few homes that I've bought and whatnot. And honestly, whatever Alex Montegon says, I'll do.
Yeah.
So he's straight up like the guy.
Take my money, put it in there.
It's not take my money. It's please take my money. Can I please
got
be
people in touch?
Can I please? Yeah. Listen, can I please be an LP if you need, listen, its integrity is I've never seen somebody with such amazing. To this day, we have a company that does very, very well, and we still don't have a contract between us.
That's amazing.
We have our company has contracts with other companies, and
but you guys don't have an operating agreement?
On the Breakwater level, no.
Yeah.
We got to get to it one day, but
what more can you ask for in a partner?
Yeah.
No, man, and he like, just like in the past, I've been an I've always been a handshake guy.
Yeah.
I don't care what paperwork you have. I mean, it's just gonna, at the end of the day, some people, I'm just a handshake guy.
Yeah.
Right, at the end of the day, and he would have had plenty of opportunities to do, just to fuck me, and he would never do that, and he never did, and other partners that I've had in the past did.
Yeah.
So,
it's all the proof you need.
So that's all the proof I need, and to this day, like it's a great, like it's there.
Where's your office?
We have an office across the street from where the Wharf is being built. Well, officially, Alex owns the storage building that's across the street.
Oh, sure.
And we were in there. Then we outgrew it. And then we took like a 5,000 square foot office space next door Flagler on the river. So it's on the corner of Flagler, across the street from Casa Nios. They just opened up. The entire corner office, a corner retail space underneath that high rise there. It was supposed to be a restaurant space, and the Mellows developed it, and we did a deal with them and just took a really big space there. And we want to be, right in front of the construction when it starts. And we have a really robust marketing department that manages all the venues. We don't work with promoters, although that's what I've been my entire life. Everything is managed in-house. We've basically I've set up like our own internal in-house agency, if you will. But we just do our businesses.
That's amazing.
Very cool.
Thanks for coming in, Emi. This is
awesome.
What a story.
I appreciate it. Thank you for the Casa Dragones.
Yeah.
It was great talking.
Thank Lisette Calderon for the Casa de Dragones.
And I would have our if anyone's interested in learning more about the hospitality industry talks, right? Is the name of your podcast?
Yes, Industry Talks podcast. Industry Talks Hospitality podcast it's everywhere on all the channels and whatnot. And I had a really good one yesterday with DJ Irie. It's an amazing story. That'll be out in a couple weeks. And yeah, there's a lot of people in there already, and all my industry friends are jumping on board. And my goal with that was just, if you could help other people get the word out about their businesses, eventually it'll trickle to you, and it'll come back, and just to help the industry as a whole. And that's one of the things that COVID really shined a light on, is that the hospitality didn't have a united voice. It was difficult for hospitality. Was like the last thing to open up. We were evil,
Right.
How dare we have go out and talk to people? You're gonna die. And I didn't understand other people were sick and whatnot, and I could understand those debates, but to a certain point, right? So this is an opportunity to keep the hospitality the businesses communicating.
Well, we'll definitely stay tuned.
Yeah, and good luck on the competition on Saturday.
Oh, I appreciate it.
And you better bring home the gold. If you don't bring it home, they're not going to invite you back.
I just want to finish. I know I'm not going to peel. I just want to finish.
All right, cool. That was awesome. Seriously.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Emi.
Cheers.